Halloween Horror Nights is just around the corner. There's been lots of stuff happening in the park since the last time I've actually been here. So let's get inside and see all of what we can see about Halloween Horror Nights construction for this year. It's really starting to feel like Horror Nights is happening next month. I mean, we already got the lights, and there's so many lights. I haven't seen this many lights out here in a long time. We got 2 of them over here. I'm sure we'll have another one at some point, but these are going to be focused right here on this opening area for Halloween Horror Nights for this year. So right in the front of the park is Duality of Fear, and not much can be seen in the front of the park. I don't think they're going to start this construction until possibly the start of August. I mean, there are some lights on the building, but that's about it. And now we can decipher where these zones are. We can figure out what they meant by choose a path. I was thinking, how are they going to do this? But I think Duality of Fear will go up until this zone area. So where Oddfellow Zone, where the big arches, where it says Halloween Horror Nights, all that will be still in the same area. But obviously, I think Minions is cut off. I don't think they're going to do anything past Minions. And then once you go down this path, there will be some couple characters up here, and that'll be it for Duality of Fear. Then it will lead into the Demon Queens zone. Or if you go straight ahead, you're going to go to Tortured Faire, where we're going to go next. Not much is done yet in New York City, but we do have an actual stage. Now, because of the Mega Superstar Parade that is going on, we will not get big set pieces. I think most of them will be these rollout pieces. It'll be sort of the torture devices that they bring out and will out right before Horror Night starts. The stage itself is a basic stage. I think it's a little small in my opinion versus the press release art for it, but you know, I'll take something over nothing. But it'll be interesting to see the progress on this build out weeks in advance. I'll be honest to say, I expected the stage to be a little bit bigger. Maybe this is just the first build out of it and it will have more built onto it, but right now it's a teeny tiny stage. Whereas last year we had that gigantic stage, so it'll be interesting to see what updates happen here as they build onto the stage. And we're going to take a look at Sting Alley, and shout out to Losh TV for sort of pointing this one out. If you look way up there, you can notice there are some red light bulbs. Now, the only property that I think Horror Nights have for this year that associates red light bulbs would be A Quiet Place. Now, would that mean we're getting a Quiet Place sort of food booth in this location like we had The Last of Us? More than likely. Now, what would those food items be? I haven't a clue. Leave it down in the comment section. What do you think, if it was A Quiet Place, what do you think it could be as far as the food options? I was thinking a play on the sound of it being quiet. So it's maybe something sort of loud and crunchy would, you know, maybe play off the words of it being a quiet place. Now, not much is going on in the Fast and Furious building, which we know is going to be Major Suite's haunted house. What do you think the facade? Now, we did get a look at what the facade looks like, but I'm still curious as to what part of this building is the facade. Like, what are we going to walk into? Is it the front of the building? Is it somewhere on the side? Could it possibly be the exit way? I don't see that happening, but what do you think? Leave it down in the comment section as well. And just past Major Suite's haunted house, we have finally the announced
zone, Blumhouse. Enter the Blumhouse scare zone over in San Francisco. We have the big BH letters. Maybe possibly someone's going to be on the stage, maybe bigger characters that we don't want guests interfering with. Although it's a very small area, so maybe someone just to kind of take photos with, maybe someone really popular like Megan or something like that. There is a pathway on the other side that a guest can stand and maybe scare somebody that's walking by, but maybe it's just the gigantic logos to kind of mark that we are entering the zone. The zone itself is very bare bones. There's not much to it. I don't think there's going to be much to the zone. I think a lot of fog, a lot of lights, and a good amount of Blumhouse characters kind of sprinkled throughout. I don't see them doing anything like a gigantic movie screen or something, although that would be kind of interesting for them to have a projector kind of showing some Blumhouse, scenes throughout the zone somewhere, or maybe a big gigantic movie screen. I don't see that happening, but it's going to be interesting once we kind of know what the zone is going to look like or what's going to be in it.
So with this Blumhouse zone, it's quite interesting. There's not many props. We have sort of a center area where I think we're just going to get lots of color, lots of fog, lots of scare actors. Not quite sure how this is going to fare out with the crowds and Blumhouse being a popular, more IP-centric, fan-driven sort of IP that a lot of people recognize. A lot of people want to stop over here and take photos. So it will be interesting to see just how they do this initial setup. I think, like I said, it's just going to be bare bone basics. I don't see them building out this. So it will be interesting to see if they add anything over there. Maybe another stage or something present, but I don't see much happening here in Blumhouse.
And just to note, as usual, the cars are all been removed from the exit of Fast and Furious. So, there's nothing else there. I'm not sure if it's just going to be where we're going to exit out of the house. Are we going to exit back from the entrance way of Fast and Furious, or we're going to come out from maybe over here? Who knows? Or maybe we're going to get some more Blumhouse characters back here. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of spans out once Horror Nights happens. Now, there is a small structure stage here stating that it is for Halloween Horror Nights. Not sure what it's supposed to be. Maybe it's just that backdrop that they had last year that you can kind of walk up and take a photo in front of. It could just be that. I don't think we're going to get the Peacock Bar over here unless they do two different Peacock Bars. It'll be interesting to see if they do bring it back to this side of the lagoon, but later on in the video we'll talk about the other location. And now inside of Diagon Alley, we do have the Death Eaters are returning, and some of their props that they had last year are returning in the exact same spots. Nothing surprising here. Pretty much everything we saw last year when we were doing construction updates, same stuff. Nothing new has been added so far yet. And of course, over in Central Park, we have Swamp of the Undead. Now, pretty much this zone is, I think, done. I don't think there's too much more they're going to add. Maybe some more lighting, more fog machines, but other than that, this is the main zone that has the most set design and the most props in it so far. These boats with sort of the mirror effect to make it seem like we're walking through sort of the bayou, and these boats have sort of a deeper, below our walking path. I don't believe we're going to see people on top of these. It's kind of dangerous unless they add some roping or something to that degree. Lots of fencing, lots of lights, lots of fog, I'm sure. It'll be interesting of how they do this sort of swamp feel in the lights. That's what I'm really curious about in this zone. And they do have these lights that are very low and they're blue. So they are definitely setting that sort of water swamp area that we're going to walk through.
Now, my initial thoughts about Swamp of the Undead, I think this might be the contender for Zone of the Year, depending on how they finish this out. And a lot of walking space this time. It's not congested. I do like what they're doing with sort of the set design, and some of the lighting is going to be very interesting of how they're going to do that. Hopefully with some of the fog effects, it's going to make it feel like you're walking through the swamp, through maybe like a, you know, like the fog, the water type of thing. So I'm really interested in this zone, probably the most of all the zones, especially because they've added so much in here versus the other zones, which are bare bones at this point. But I still think Swamp of the Undead might be everyone's favorite this year.
Now, this is the location that I believe the Peacock Bar that we had last year, where we met the Purge character and that annoying guy. I do believe this is where we are going to meet certain characters. Not quite sure how that's going to feather out with the crowds, and like there's no really a queue line system, but we did see these gigantic sort of TV displays last year at the other Peacock Bar around, you know, on the other side of Lombard. So it will be interesting to see how this feathers out to be a Peacock Bar. Maybe a lot of people were not going to that bar area back there, so they put it over here. Maybe it will draw a bigger crowd to go to the Peacock Bar. So maybe that's what they want to do, is readjust it. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. Now, over on Hollywood Boulevard is where Demon Queens will be. I think it's going to be much like how we normally have the Hollywood zones, with the big rollout set pieces. Obviously, in that presentation they did, they showed us just a glimpse of one of the stages. So don't expect to see very much in the zone except for stages during Horror Nights. Obviously, we see they did add the speakers for the zone. There's at least, I think, 2 of them in that zone, but other than that, I don't think we're going to see much on the construction side.
We will be big. And that is a look at some of the Halloween Horror Nights construction. We will be back here in about 2 weeks for that early unmasking and horror tours. Put down in the comment section, what is your most anticipated zone based upon that early construction? That is it. I will catch you guys on another video very, very soon. Peace out, everybody.